Hello everyone. Short talk about control and the likes. What do I mean by control? Basically, when you draw, to a certain degree, you want to have control over what you want to draw, or what you are currently drawing, or what's in your head, whatever you want to say. And the way to get control is, well, I don't know, you got to figure out what does not bring you control, or what do you need more control over. In this case, I wanted more control over my rotations. Seeing that I've switched to Manga Studio quite recently, and I have it set up most of my tools correctly. So, a little initiative I did was basically bring up my tools or my Wacom driver and just add shortcuts, keystroke shortcuts for my rotation. And now when it comes to drawing, or inking in this case, I can have like easy rotation. It's fine, I love it, and it just makes my job a tad bit easier. And this is something that you'll have to figure out. To a certain degree, you want to have control over your drawing, depending on what you want to do, of course. When it comes to inking, yes, you need that control. You don't want to go all experimental, depending on the job, of course. But right here, I have a specific and focused idea of what I want, so I need control, which is where I had to use my rotations. That gives me a much better control of my tablet, even though, long story short, tablet's kind of busted, and my eraser is not as good as I want it to be. Or I just have to switch to eraser tool now. I can't just flip my pen and expect everything works. Yet, another example of control, first time you're going to start out with tablet, the hand-eye coordination is a pain in the ass. And when I had to deal with that kind of, let's say, gap, then my best bet back then, you know, with the Wacom Graphire, was basically to do it every day. Such tools as Open Canvas, or what was it, Hamashi and Open Canvas, of course. Paint Chat was another fun place that was great for a training ground. Not good for other things though, because if you wanted to do a full picture, then you'd better hope somebody does not wipe the canvas. Now, in the end, it was still a great place to practice. Practicing with the tablet, getting the feel for it, understanding the hand-eye coordination, and overall getting more control when it comes to working with a tablet. And I'm going to have to face more gaps when it comes to that towards the Surface, the Windows Surface, because it is quite small. It's not as big as a tablet, or doesn't give me as much as a drawing surface as a tablet, yet it is a good backup to a Cintiq, which I do not have the money for, and I have absolutely no idea when that money is gonna arrive, or if it ever gonna arrive, right? $3,000 for a Cintiq. Yet it's all about control. And hey, the more you practice, the more you find ways to give yourself a little boost. So we should say, a little boost to your work, and then the easier things are going to be for you in those aspects. Of course, when it comes to drawing, then there's always the studying, the experimenting with new techniques, and all that. That goes without saying. But hey, control is another big part of it. Also, there are times where you do not want to have absolute control. Sometimes you want to let loose, see what comes up. And it's a difficult balance. I'll admit personally, it is difficult. Not remaining too stiff on what you know, and at the same time experimenting with new stuff. It's difficult. Hey, especially if you have a task and you have an employer that wants something specific, then you can't just go around experimenting. You gotta remain to a specific style set by the employer. Yet, there are times where you can surprise yourself and your employers. It's an odd balance, and sometimes you want to take that risk. I don't know, better yourself at the same time, right? Or find some new tools for your arsenal of techniques. And sometimes you don't want to, or you shouldn't. Again, some employers may want you to stick to a certain thing. And if you want to get that pay, then you got to do it, right? Again, situational, all about balance and your personal needs as well. Aside from that, personal little experience that happened recently. When it came to drawing certain extra stage character, my mind kind of switched. Switched from relying to a model sheet or constantly thinking about the model sheet, to thinking about the character itself. As a being, how would this character react in this situation? How is this character moving? What's this character's specific, let's say, how do you say it? It's difficult because I can say it in French. Mannerism, maybe? A tick, like a character that constantly sneezes. I don't know, you can figure out, you can figure it all out as expression. Maybe you could say expression, but it's that, let's say, catchphrase as well. Dude, there's many examples for this, yet it's thinking about the character as a being instead of thinking of the character as a drawing. And this has got me some really interesting results. Like right here we have Lisa. In my head, at a certain point, the name or the nickname Never Ending Bad Day just popped up. And that just kind of got me to give her this sneer, these messed up eyes, you know? Just a person that is constantly on a bad day and is ready to dish it out at anyone. And this gave me a bit more insight on this character as well. The next step when it comes to that, and let's say that little experimental phase I'm going through, is basically having the mindset of how is this character moving? How does this character move on their daily base? Do they have this weird walk? Do they have this constant weird messed up expression? Is the cigar always lit up? Is there something to do with the cigar? Like, just these thoughts and thinking in a more written manner, we could say. Frankly, I don't know how else to express it. It's something that you'll have in your head. It's not something that can just be easily said and done. It's just gonna come out. And to me, it's just great because I get to figure out more stuff about my characters and how they react, how they act, how they move. It is something that's just maybe stuck in my head right now. Like I want to figure out how did these character moves, you know? How did they talk? How did they even have hand motions when they talk? Did they have like weird emoticons, we could say? Thinking a bit too much about Avatar: The Last Airbenders, but hey, it is inspiration. Hell, even the Boondocks is a good inspiration for just attitude, adding attitude to the character and thinking about character attitude in general. So, lots of fun. Just new stuff popping up here and there. And I kind of wish I could apply that to portraits, or when it comes to figuring out people's attitudes on portraits. So, who knows? In the future, I'll see what happens. In the meantime, I'm getting a bit more control when it comes to Manga Studio and digital drawing. I'm hoping the same thing happens for, well, working with the Surface, even though I might have to do a bit of a rant video about Microsoft and the way it's pulling off its little Surface shenanigans. Yet all that for another time. In the meantime, that was Control. If you can, find out ways that you can get more control over your work and while you're working with tools. At the same time, never forget to take some time to experiment. See if you can find out more techniques that you can bring to your arsenals. What do you like about your favorite artist, and how can you integrate that to your work? Not trying to be your favorite artist, but how can you learn from them? You know, how do you integrate their movesets? What do you like from them? And hey, see what goes. Experiment. Don't be shy. You're not going, or you're not trying to follow anyone's standard. Aside from, knowing basic anatomy and all that. But hey, all that's a given. If you're not going to do character design, or you're not going to go into animation, then maybe it's not your biggest priority. Maybe composition is your biggest priority. And at that point, what's your favorite composition? Who do you like? Who's your favorite artist when it comes to that? And see how you can integrate it. Oh well, that's about it. I'm done. In the meantime, I hope you're all less tired than I am, and I will see you next time. Later.